We'll actually start off in the CloudCare portal, and then we'll come back to a few other things here in just a few moments. So for those of you that are unfamiliar with CloudCare, maybe this is your first time seeing it, it is a cloud-based dashboard, so you can access it from anywhere at any time. You don't have to be on site at the client's location. As long as you have internet connection, you can manage any of your customers that are set up in CloudCare and take care of their antivirus needs. Whenever you log into the CloudCare dashboard, it'll look very similar to what I have on my screen right now. And what's kind of nice about this is immediately you can see if there's something for you to go ahead and start taking care of. Are there any issues that you need to address? For example, I can see right in front of me in big bold alert here that there are some threats detected. That's something I want to take care of. But what's nice about this dashboard is it's color coded. So if you hop in here, everything's green or kind of gray. Nothing to worry about. You can move on with your day. I'm sure you guys have a lot of other things to worry about. But if there is an issue, a client has a threat detected, their virus definitions are out of date, or something else is going on, it changes colors in here, and you can click on it, and you can go ahead and start managing that immediately. So threat detected, for example, that's a big one. That's something that I don't want to take my time on. I need to take care of that for my customers. So as soon as I click on it, it shows me all the different threats that were detected on my customers' devices. And not only can I see these threats, but I can go ahead and start managing them as well. So I could actually hop into the virus test for this device, and then maybe it's a false positive. If that's the case, I can remove it from the virus test, send it back to where it goes, even add it as an exception so that this doesn't happen again. But if it is a legitimate threat, I can go ahead and take care of that, maybe remove it from the device or take another action that needs to occur. But back to my original point here, it's nice because I immediately know that there are certain threats that are out there on my client's devices without having to dig around the CloudCare portal to find those. Now, of course, this is for existing customers. Obviously, we won't be able to add our customers in here, so real simple. Right here, I've got shortcuts. Go ahead and click on Add Customer. I can fill out the information for that client, and that's pretty much it. We'll wait for this to load here in just a moment, but not a lot of required information either. I can just put in the customer's company name. I don't need to fill out all the additional details if I don't want to. But put in the customer's info. And when it's time to set the customer up, I have two options of what type of customer they're going to be. Are they partner managed or are they self-managed? The biggest difference, partner managed, it's up to you. You take care of their account. You're the one that deploys. You're the one that manages their policies. You're the one that has to take care of any alerts. Self-managed clients, it is completely up to the client. If you create a self-managed customer, you will no longer have access to anything within their CloudCare portal. It's up to them. So it really depends on your offering. Are you managing their AV? If that's the case, set them up as partner managed. If you are just reselling, you just want to get them in there, let them do their own thing, set them up as self-managed. You do have a third choice, though. You can actually go with what I recommend, no matter what, is kind of a combination of the two, where set them up as partner managed. When they're partner managed, you can access their account, whether you need to or not. But you can also add the customer as an administrator. So that way they can also get into their account as well. They can't see anybody else in the CloudCare portal. They can only manage their own account. But this way, say they do want to manage themselves, if they have an issue that they can't fix and they call you up, if you don't have yourself as partner managed, you can't get in there to help them. So this way you can kind of have the best of both worlds. But once you add your client in here, you fill out the company information, you've added their accounts, you can select which services you want to offer, whether it be the antivirus or even the content filtering, which I'll get into here in a little bit when we get into the demo. And you can also choose how this customer will be billed. Is it monthly? Is it yearly? Is it every 2 years? Whatever the case may be, you can set it up in the CloudCare portal, select how many devices you want to deploy it out to, and that's it. The account's been created. You can go ahead and start managing their antivirus on their machine. I'm going to hop back into the dashboard for now, though, and just point out a few other things that are available from here. Take a look at the left-hand side. Customer list, pretty obvious. I can take a look at all my different customers that I have set up in here. I also have a customer list up here. And what's kind of nice about this customer list, either one that we look at, it lets me know if there's anything that needs to be taken care of. I've got a few customers, actually, that have alerts that are outstanding. If I have nothing next to their name, that's good. That lets me know that everything's great, nothing to worry about. I can even see which services I've offered this customer, what type of customer they are. And then if I need to manage that particular client, I can jump straight into it. And oh, sorry, I forgot. There's also 3-year options for antivirus and content filtering. I said 1 and 2 years. There's also a 3rd-year option. Now, sales opportunities, this is kind of neat because it has absolutely nothing to do with the software that comes with Avast CloudCare. It's other opportunities for you guys, whether it is maybe they are running low on disk space. If they are, you can offer them a new hard drive, maybe another service that you might offer. If their RAM is spiking on their machines and they need to upgrade that, you can see other sales opportunities that are out there. So if I did want to take a closer look, I could drill down into this. But if you do offer, whether it's additional hardware or just other services, you can view that in here and then use CloudCare as a way to find where those opportunities lie. And then the last thing that we'll look at on this main page here is the customized support option. If a user right-clicks on the Avast icon in their system tray, if you don't have anything in here, there's no support information available, but if you have filled this out, customer clicks on it and it brings up whatever you filled out in here. Whether it's your company logo, your company name, your phone number, your email address, whatever information you want to put in here, you can put in your hours of operation. So that way the customers can have a direct line to support if they need you, whether it is CloudCare related or not. All right, so I'm going to take you guys on a tour of the rest of the product now. We'll go ahead and leave the dashboard, and we'll kind of go almost piece by piece and touch on each one of these tabs and what they have to offer. So I'm going to go ahead and hop into the Alerts tab. And something else I'm going to kind of touch on here in a few minutes, but everything that we're looking at now, these are global settings. So I can set up alerts for all of my clients. I can set up policies for all of my clients. I don't have to drill down into every single customer for every single item. That being said, I have that option as well. So what we're going to look at first would just be global settings, how I can create alerts for all of my clients and policies and so on. And with the alerts in CloudCare, we saw in the dashboard how they're color-coded. Well, they are separated out by level of severity. They're also separated out by what type of alert they are, whether it's antivirus or content filtering and so on. And color-coded like we saw before, like right now, these are my alerts that are open. If I wanted to see maybe, I don't know, just medium level alerts, ones that aren't that big of a deal, something I could, I don't have threats detected or out-of-date virus definitions, it's going to show me in here if I have any outstanding medium level alerts. Not only can I see these alerts, but I can go ahead and manage them from here. As we saw earlier when I was going into the those threat detected, same concept for really just about any other alert that you get in CloudCare. If I have out-of-date virus definitions, I can tell it to update now from here. If a device is, well actually here, we'll wait till it comes up, but if a device needs a restart, I can restart it from here. So like actually this very first one, out-of-date virus definitions, update now. I can go ahead and take care of it. Once I've done that, I check the box, I hit acknowledge, this alert goes away. So that, and what's kind of nice about that too is, if there's an issue and for some reason this device keeps coming up with this alert, if I acknowledge it comes back, I know it's a legitimate issue. If I acknowledge it, it goes away, I've taken care of it. I'm done, I can move on. But what's nice about the alerts in CloudCare is I only have 18. That's manageable. That's pretty easy to take care of. But if you're getting hundreds of alerts and a lot of them aren't legitimate alerts to you or not stuff that you're really concerned with, what happens then is you start to ignore them. And then when you ignore them, when an alert like threat detected comes through, you're going to miss it. So you can completely customize the alerts in CloudCare. So I'm actually going to hop in here to the customization. I'm going to just add a brand new one. I can name it whatever I'd like. I can apply this to whatever customers I'd like. I can choose who to be notified of these alerts, whether it be via email or even SMS text message. And then I can go through and I can pick and choose which alerts that I want to have sent out to my phone or my inbox. And I can set my thresholds on these. And there are quite a few of these alerts that are directly tied to the antivirus or the content filtering that's installed. But there's even a few alerts in here that have nothing to do with these. things that kind of maybe you want to monitor or be notified of, like for example, Windows service crashed. Maybe there is a specific Windows service that always has to be running on one of your client's machines, and you need to know immediately if this service crashes. Set it up in here. Select the Windows service that you need to know about, or even all Windows services, and then if it crashes, you can be notified. Or like my out-of-date virus definitions, mine sets every 3 days. Maybe that's not good enough for you. You want to know if it's been 1 day since a virus definition has gone out of date. Change it in here. It's, like I said, completely customizable. And those additional alerts, the sales opportunities I was talking about before, they can be customized. Like the disk capacity reached, by default, if it's less than 25% of the C drive, it's going to let you know. Servers, that can be a bit misleading. I mean, if you've got a multi-terabyte server, 25% of your disk space left is still a decent amount of space. So maybe I only want to know if there's, say, 25 gigs left. I can go in here, customize it. So like I said, pick and choose which alerts you want to be notified of, change the thresholds. Say you set it up in here and you find that the thresholds you set don't work for you, no problem. You can go back, you can edit them at any time. All right, so we'll move on. And I'm just going to touch on the Devices tab temporarily. We're going to look at the Devices tab a lot more in depth when we get into an actual client, so when we manage a particular customer. But when we look at the Devices tab globally, it'll show us a list of every device that we've deployed CloudCare to, the customer account that we've deployed it to, the group that it's a part of, what policies apply to the device. So a lot of really good information, any outstanding alerts. What's kind of neat about this, though, when I look at it from the partner level, is if devices show up in here as red, as like a lot of mine do, that lets me know that they need to be upgraded. There's a new build of CloudCare available. So like all these are on 4.2.2. They're on the latest and greatest. So I don't have to worry about those. Actually, I've got two of them. They're both upgrading right now to the newest build. And if I do have one that's on an older build, I could actually drill down into that device and take a closer look at it. You know, which services they have, I can go ahead and hit update available and get that onto the latest version without having to get into the client account. So let's move on to the Policies tab, and I'll probably spend more time here than just about any other tab on the partner side. And I know I've said this before, I'm going to probably say it multiple times throughout the presentation, but I want to make it very clear to you guys. You can set policies globally. You can also set policies at the customer level. So what we're looking at right now is a global policy. So if I have certain settings that I'm applying to all of my clients, I don't want to have to go through and create a policy for every single customer that I create. Just create a default policy from here and then apply that same policy to all clients. Pretty simple. Now, the policies are broken up into categories. The general category is primarily involved with the UI and with the definition and component updates that are available. So if I wanted to set up a schedule as to how frequently updates go out to the devices, or how frequently the devices check in for updates, I should say, I could set it up in here, maybe set it during certain hours when no one's around. Also, if an update does go out to a device, if for some reason it requires a restart, most of the updates do not, but if they do require a restart, I can choose what I want it to do. Like for mine, I'm requiring confirmation from the user. I don't want it to restart immediately. I could go with complete an X computer restart, but regardless, we can control what the devices do whenever a restart is needed. If you have a customer using a proxy, you can set that up in here. Passwords. You can password protect the Avast Business CloudCare product, whether you set it up to only restrict users from uninstalling it, or if you set up the password to completely restrict them from accessing the interface. If you don't want them even getting into the interface and making changes at all to anything that you've done, you can put password protect it. If you don't password protect it, and I'm sorry, that's only the old version. I forgot about that. So anyway, but one thing I was going to mention though is that without it being password protected, you can still block them from uninstalling it. But if it's not password protected, it doesn't matter, because even if the user does make a change to a local setting, when that device checks back into the CloudCare portal, it'll pull the settings back down that you've applied. Everything that you do in here in the portal overrides any local configuration, so you don't really have to worry about users making anything or changing any of your settings locally on the machines. And then on the appearance, you can kind of pick and choose what the users see related to Avast. So, sometimes it'll pop up on their screen saying a threat was detected, or it'll pop up on their screen saying that their virus definition is out of date. A user sees that, they can get a little bit, how do I put this nicely? They can overreact a little bit. Let's just say that. And they think, oh no, my computer's infected. We have a huge issue, and they're contacting you, and they're contacting their IT, and you've already taken care of it. You've already seen it in the CloudCare portal. You've already acknowledged it. You've already removed the threat. So in those scenarios, for those over active users, or for the ones that kind of freak out over things like that, you can make sure those trade notifications don't pop up on their screens. So they're really kind of kept out of the loop, and you can manage everything without them getting involved. So let's move on, and we'll go ahead and hop into the antivirus settings. So all the components in CloudCare can be completely configured. And with the Avast business product that's installed on local machines, there are different components. Each one has its own purpose. So when we go through here, File System Shield, this is really the core scanning engine. It's what scans the files when users open them, make sure that they're not infected. If you needed to change the behavior of that, you could. Behavioral Shield, this is the one that's kind of looking for zero-day threats or malware or ransomware. Basically, if it looks like a threat, acts like a threat, smells like a threat, chances are it's a threat. That's what this section of the system's for. It will kind of check the behavior, as it says, of a file and lets you know if it's something that's malicious. Mail Shield, pretty obvious. It's for scanning mail. Web Shield is for websites. If there's a malicious site, or there's maybe a drive-by download or some kind of malicious code on the site and it's detected, we can block it with the local UI, or local AV. And with the exclusions, sometimes you might have a type of software, maybe it's proprietary to a client, or just something that we don't see a lot of, and for some reason Avast thinks it's a threat because that behavioral shield or one of the other things in here sees it and says, hey, I don't know this, and let's go ahead and stop it from running. So if that's the case, you can add it in here as an exception. At that point, Avast will just leave it alone. It says, all right, that's fine, continue, do your thing, and we'll move on. So let's move on as well, and we'll hop into the add-ons. So there are a few features that are not necessarily managed through the antivirus in here. Additional pieces to the solution that can be managed here in the CloudCare portal. It always takes a moment for the add-ons to pop up, so I'll just go ahead and start talking about it a little bit while we're waiting. You have an anti-spam component. You have your firewall. You have a sandbox, which is really cool. And what's nice about these additional components is that, if the customer needs it, it's available. If not, no big deal. You don't have to use it. Firewall, for example, if the customer has a hardware firewall, or they don't need another local firewall on their computer, you don't have to install it. It's not a big deal. You don't have to use it. But if they are using the firewall, you can manage it from here in the CloudCare portal. The sandbox is really cool. The sandbox will segment a section of their hard drive and completely separate it from everything else. So that way, if maybe there's something that they're not sure if it's malicious or not, and they want to run it just to be on the safe side, they can put it into that sandbox. They can run it in that sandbox, and if everything's fine, then they know it's okay to run it elsewhere. If it doesn't come out fine, then they know it's good that they use the sandbox. So those add-ons, like I was saying, you can go through here and configure them, whether it's the firewall settings, whether we're allowing certain applications, internal or external access, or if we are setting up that sandbox and segmenting a section of the drive to use for that sandbox, or if we are setting up Exchange or SharePoint protection, if you're installing on an Exchange or a SharePoint server, whatever the case may be, you have those additional add-ons that you can go through here and configure. So we'll move on to the other component that's available in CloudCare. So when you install CloudCare on your customers' devices, there's a couple different services that are available. You have the antivirus, which is pretty self-explanatory, and then we have the content filtering. Content filtering is just a web content filtering tool. You can restrict users from going to websites that they probably should not be going to on a work computer. We've seen all kinds of stuff over the years in regards to the content filtering that people should not be doing on a work computer. So you can stop it from happening. And there's multiple reasons, whether it is for productivity purposes, keeping people from watching cat videos all day, or if it's for keeping them from going to sites that contain malware, malicious sites, or even stuff that could get you in trouble legally. Pretty easy to set it up too. You've got a bunch of categories, and within these categories, you have additional subcategories. And for every single one of these, you can choose to allow, block, or warn the user. Allow and block, I'm pretty sure I don't have to explain to you guys. You can probably figure those two out. Warn, it just gives the user a pop-up on their screen. It lets them know that maybe they shouldn't go to this site. If they want to continue, they still can. But if they don't want to, they can just hit no and go back. If you want to know what category a site's in, look it up. Like I'll use LinkedIn as an example. So I'll just type in linkedin.com, hit check, and it lets me know it's in my social site / social networking. It's good to know. So now that we've gone through the categories, we've set up what people can or cannot go to, we'll hop into the exceptions tab where we can kind of override whatever the category settings are. So we can block specific websites without blocking an entire category, or we can allow specific sites. So let's actually stick with the LinkedIn example that I just used. Maybe you are blocking social networks. Client doesn't want their employees spending all day on Facebook, but they do need access to LinkedIn. They need to update their company LinkedIn profile, or they have employees that do prospecting on LinkedIn, whatever the case may be. We just saw that it's in the social networks. So I can add linkedin.com in here. Whoops. Well, yeah, there we go. Hit allow. We block social networks, so that way they can't go to Facebook, or if they're still living in the late 90s, early 2000s, they can't go to MySpace either. But if they need to go to LinkedIn, no problem. Also, we have quite a few categories that are available. If a user goes to a site that is not categorized, Avast hasn't even detected that site yet, you can just go ahead and pop up a warning on their screen if they go to an uncategorized site, just because it could contain something malicious, or it could be something they shouldn't look at work. And if you have a customer that you really need to lock down their internet, like they only need to have access to just a handful of sites, put the sites in here that they need to have access to, click on the box, and at that point, those are the only sites they can go to. I know we came across someone years ago. It was a guy working in I think the post office late at night when no one else was around. He was browsing a lot of sites he shouldn't be browsing, so they went ahead and set it up in here for him to only go to a handful of sites that are related to postal services, and that was it. That's all he could do. So let's move on. So schedules. Maybe people take the computer some at the end of the day. Maybe they want to browse the internet at lunch. If that's the case, no problem. You can set schedules in here where the content filtering turns off at certain times, so that way they could browse freely during those hours, but then during business hours, they can be restricted. And then you have a few other tools that are built into the content filtering. Clean search, for example, if they're using Google or another search engine and they try to take it out of safe search, it won't let them. It just puts it right back into safe mode. You can add an override password for certain individuals. So that way, if they are on a site, or not a site, on a computer, they're blocked from going to a site that they need to go to, they can put in their override password. They can get on to that site without having to worry about it at that point. The safety log, this is it's kind of a weird feature. This is kind of the tattletale feature, I guess you could say. So depending on the sensitivity that you set it on, if a user continually tries to access a site that they shouldn't be trying to access, eventually what will happen is they'll lock down the internet access completely, and they will have to restart their computer to regain internet access. And dynamic filtering. Basically, if a user does go to a site that has not been categorized yet, it will scan that site. It'll look for any adult or mature content, and if it detects anything, it'll go ahead and block that site as well. All right, and the last piece that we'll look at in the policies is the premium remote control. So the premium remote control is built into the solution. It comes free, which is really nice. And especially if you're using something like a Log Me In or a Team Viewer and you don't want to pay for it, you can use the premium remote control in CloudCare. But basically, you can enable user consent, and this is for the clients that don't want you just getting into their computers without them knowing about it, or maybe you're trying to get in there during business hours when they're using the computer. So you enable user consent. You create your own consent message like, hey, I need to take control of your computer. Will you let me on? And then they can say yes or no. If they say yes, you're in. If they say no, sorry, you have to wait. Now you can set a timeout. So if they don't reply within the time frame that you set in here, it'll still let you into the machine. You know, maybe you're trying to do maintenance on their computer while they're at lunch. So obviously they're on the computer. You can wait a minute, get in there, do what you need to do, and then finish before they get back from lunch. And then you have a few other customization options where you could, like this is set to best quality. I don't like that. I like high speed. I really don't care what it looks like. I just want to get in there and remote control, do what I need to do. So I like to set mine to high speed. And then I can do things like leave the desktop or get rid of the desktop background or whatever I need to do here. If you don't check that box, it's going to let you into their machine automatically. Just thought I'd throw that one out there. All right, so let's go ahead and move on to the Reports tab. And I'm not going to change my settings. So the Reports tab from the partner side of the solution, you do have quite a few reports that you can generate. Now you can see in here there's quite a few. They are separated out by the type of report they are, whether it's a security report or content filtering. If I wanted to see like a URL access report for maybe just one of my customers, pretty simple here. I can customize it, go through whatever time frame I want and generate that report. It'll go ahead and generate it immediately in another window. Now, I don't have anything in here. This is pretty boring to look at, but if I needed to export this, if there was actually something interesting on here, I could export it or I could print it directly from here. So if I need to get it over to the client for some reason or another, I could do it directly from here. But these are the partner reports. We have a lot more configuration available on the customer side of the solution. And then the account tab, we'll hop into that real quick. Won't take us very long in here. Well, first you can have your customer or your partner profile. So your information that's in here, your company name, email address, all that good stuff. You can view your partner agreement if you need to from here. But a couple other things I just want to point out real quick is, well, your invoices, they'll come through. You can view the invoices, see how much you're using and all that good stuff. If any of you guys use Autotask, you can set up an Autotask integration in here. It's primarily for billing purposes, but you can sync it up where it can take the billing information from CloudCare, send it over to Autotask. Just ties them in together. And then you also have the ability to add additional users if need be. And, well, you can see like right now, Scott Farmer is our partner admin in here. But if we did need to add additional technicians in here, they won't necessarily be an administrator. They're going to be kind of limited on what they can do. And actually, I say that this feature is temporarily unavailable. It will be back very soon. But on our account here, that you can see I can't add someone else. But you can add what's called partner users. And those partner users will have, like I said, limited capabilities, but they can get in here and help out if need be. All right. And the last thing I'll point out on the partner side of the solution is if you need assistance, you're running into issues or there's problems with Avast CloudCare, whatever the case may be, you've got support information on any page you go to in here. Doesn't matter what page I'm in, there's always that support tab. So that's kind of nice. If I'm stuck here and I can't figure it out, I can just drop down into the support tab, maybe hop into partner support or open up my quick guide. And then there's also an Avast community. So other partners are on here. If you have a question, throw it in here. Another partner could answer it for you possibly, or even an Avast employee could possibly answer your question on here. Typically, they are pretty good about just letting the partners kind of control the forum. They do have a moderator, but you can get in here and talk back and forth with each other. All right, so that was the partner side of the program, looking at global settings. But obviously there's going to be times where you need to manage individual customers. So to do so, pretty simple. I can just hop into my customer list, select whichever customer it is I need to manage. Everything's going to have the same look and feel here. They have their own individual dashboard, their own individual alerts, policies, all that stuff that we saw on the partner side. But this time, it's only for this one particular client. So from here, if I needed to add a new device, or if I need to make a change to the policy or change their services, everything's good. And actually, as I mentioned before, when you pull up the dashboard, if everything's green or gray, nothing to worry about. Like this client, for example, they're good. I could move on with my day. I don't have to manage them. I can move on to one of these other clients that does need some of my management services, but I'm going to stay in here for now. The alerts, we already saw that at the partner level. Same thing here on the customer level. Policies, once again, same thing on the partner and the customer level, but I do want to jump into the devices tab because it is very different actually on the customer level. So when you are deploying CloudCare to the customer, their devices will be listed in here, and you'll be able to manage those devices, and we'll get to that here in just a moment. But for now, first thing I want to do is talk about adding devices. Obviously, you need to get their computers in here. It's pretty simple to add devices. You have three options. I'll kind of walk you through all three of them. The installation package, say you want to, oh, did I go into the wrong, oh, whoops. You know what? Let me try this one more time. There we go. So the installation package, I go in here, I can select which components of the antivirus that I want to have included in this package, and you can have different packages, so maybe some of the devices have that firewall, some of them don't. Go through, pick and choose the services that you want. If you make a mistake and add services that aren't applicable to a server, it will detect the operating system and it will automatically turn certain services on or off that you would not want to have installed on a server. But anyway, select your services. If you are migrating over from another antivirus, right? Maybe this customer used another AV that's out there and they decided to go with Avast, no problem. You don't have to go through the headache of uninstalling it first and rebooting their computer and then installing Avast after that. It can remove competitive antivirus products. And the one thing I just would recommend is if it is password protected, remove that password first. Makes it a lot easier. If it is password protected, sometimes this won't work. So anyway, check the box. It'll remove those competitive antivirus products and then install Avast behind them. Customer doesn't need content filtering. You don't need to install it. Just leave it unchecked. Maybe they do. Just turn it on. It's pretty easy. You can select which policy will go into this package. So if you don't select anything, it'll just go with the default policy from your partner level. But if there's a customer policy, like we'll just go with this one, I can have that policy applied to this package. And then I can download it as an executable file, as an MSI file. If I want to push it out, maybe through a GPO, I can set up, say, an MSI file, allow silent install, so that way the user is unaware of it being installed. Whatever you need to do here, you can customize it and set it up. Or maybe I'm doing it manually, so I'm going to make it executable and leave that unchecked, so that way I can kind of walk through the installation progress. So that's your first choice, just downloading the package and then putting on a flash drive or a shared drive, pushing out through a GPO or through another tool, whatever you need to use, go for it. Your second option is the email invitation. Same concept, pick and choose your services, and then you can either put in the recipients directly from here, so that way if you wanted to send the email directly from CloudCare, that's fine, or you can just generate the download link. I go with this option because I can send it out from my email address that the customer is used to seeing. They don't get this weird no reply at CloudCare. They get my mike.craft@Waitech Software. They know that email address, and then I say, hey, click on this link. It's going to install CloudCare for you. And that's it. They just click on the link, and then they don't have to do anything else. And then your third choice is the remote deployment. Now, the remote deployment does require you to have at least one computer with CloudCare installed on it within that customer's network. That computer is going to scan the network that it's on. So that way, when you click on the remote deployment, which this is not the best example because this computer has nothing else on the network with it, but in your customer's environment, you would see a list of all the different machines that it detected. And then you just go through here and you could say, you know what, let's throw it on all of them, or you can go one machine at a time, pick and choose which ones you want to install it on, which ones you don't. One thing I will just mention real quick, it will detect a lot of devices, even devices that you cannot install antivirus on. So just something to keep in mind. You might see a router or a game system or someone's iPhone. It's not going to hurt if you click on it. It just can't install on there, but just something to note real quick. And then you just put in your admin credentials. So like if it's a domain environment, domain admin, put in the username and password, so that way you can push it out to all the machines. If it's a work group environment, if there is a shared username for all devices, you can put that in. If not, you can actually have multiple credentials in here, and if one doesn't work, it'll move on to the next one and so on. All right, so we talked about deployment, and then once devices are in here, you've deployed it out to them, they show up in the CloudCare portal. It's going to look similar to this, but you'll probably have a lot more than just one machine. Say you need to temporarily turn the service off. No problem. I can turn AV off for this machine. Next time it checks in, it'll turn off the AV. Need to turn it back on. Maybe I'm doing some maintenance or something or installing some software. I'm finished. Turn it back on. It'll just let me know, hey, if you turn this back on, billing will be turned back on as well. Yeah, no problem. I already know about that. So it's really easy to turn services on and off once they've been installed. If you have not installed a service, but it's available, so if maybe you didn't install AV, but you did install the remote deployment, or not remote deployment, remote control, you'll have a little install button that you can just click on and it remotely installs it. You don't have to touch the device. If the device is communicating, it'll show up with a little green circle next to it. If it's not communicating for some reason, it'll look like this one. I know this device is turned off. It even says device is offline. Unfortunately, it's by itself. I don't have any other machines to wake it up, but if I did, I could shoot down a wake on LAN command and it would work. But like I said, I know there's no one else on the network. If this device was turned on, I could utilize the premium remote control. I'm still going to show it to you guys just on another machine that I already have ready to go here. But what's really cool about this is if this device was on, I would instead of having that wake, it would show connect. I could connect into that machine. But I'll show you what it looks like when you do connect into a device. So let me pull it up here. And I think I've got let me turn that off. Yeah, so this device right here, remoted into it. I can take full control. I can do whatever needs to be done. I can hop in here. I can hop into the documents. I could add some software, remove something, browse the web, whatever I need to do. I could transfer files back and forth between this machine and my machine. I can draw on the screen and do whatever I need to do there. Or I can, if I'm using this as a teaching experience, I could say, hey, click here, and click on your folder there. Whatever I need to do, and then I have keyboard shortcuts like Control Delete or Windows Run, whatever I need. The system info is really cool. And maybe the customer's calling up and say, hey, my computer's running slow, but they don't know why. So you remote in, you take a look at it. And maybe they're spiking in the RAM usage. Maybe they're running low on disk space or whatever the case may be. You can take a quick little glimpse into kind of what's going on with their system. You also have administrative tools, like if I needed to go ahead and reboot this device, I could send down a reboot or even reboot in safe mode, and that's actually with networking. So it'll connect me back into the device. So it really is a very powerful remote control tool, especially for being free. That's the best part. And then when you're done on the device, just hit the disconnect button. That's it. It disconnects you from the machine, takes you back to the CloudCare portal, and you can do whatever else you need to do. Now, a couple other things while we're still on the device tab. Let me get rid of that. It's annoying. I can update the entire company from here. If they're out of date, like actually this one, for example, it is out of date. It's on 4.2.1. It's red. Should be black. So I'll go ahead and hit update company. This device is offline. No big deal. The next time it comes back online, it'll receive that and it'll go ahead and update it. I can tell it to scan every device in the company. Or I could do it by group. I don't have any devices in this group, but if there were devices, I could go ahead and update just the machines in that group or scan them. Or I could even drill down to an individual device. So if I go back to that machine that was on here, go ahead and click on it. I could update that device. I could scan that device. I could even restart it or shut it down from here. So if it was online, I could take it back offline if need be. And you'll notice I have uninstall buttons on here. So what's kind of cool about the uninstall, I mean, it does what it says it does. I don't have to touch the machine to remove CloudCare. I could tell it from this portal, go ahead and uninstall from this device, but maybe they're switching devices out. They're getting rid of an old machine, getting a new machine, so I just hit uninstall on this old machine. The licenses transfer. There's no license keys or anything like that. It's all keyless. So if you paid for 100 licenses and the customer just got rid of one machine, brought in a new machine, that license will switch over from one machine to the other. So you don't have to go with 101 or anything like that. Also, if a device never comes back online, so like say this machine died on me and we have to replace it, if I hit uninstall CloudCare, it'll go ahead and free up that license, even if this device never comes back online. If for some reason it does come back online, it'll still send out the uninstall and you're fine. But you don't have to worry about if a machine dies on you and it's still going to hold up that license. That's not the case. All right, so we're going to go ahead and move on. Oh, one more thing I want to point out in here, which I don't have anything in the virus chest, but if maybe you didn't go through it with the alerts, but you just wanted to view the virus chest directly from here, from the devices tab, you can. This would show you the virus chest for whatever group or device you're on. And then you can restore a file if it was like a false positive. You can delete the file from here. And then we don't have anything in here, but there's normally a plus sign if there was a file that I could add it as an exception. So not only could I restore it, but I'd say, you know what, moving forward, I don't even want it to touch this file anymore. Let's add it as an exception so it doesn't end up back in here again. And one more thing about this too, just to let you guys know, the delete, Avast has gotten pretty smart about this, and yeah, you want to remove a file that's infected. Of course you want to do that, but at the same time, if it's something that's not supposed to be in here, it's something like a system file, you don't want to accidentally ruin their computer. So the delete option is not available for system files for reasons like I just mentioned. We don't want to just completely turn their computer into a paperweight. Or if the file is too large to be removed remotely, which if that's the case, you just remote into their device using Premium Remote Control and you remove it that way. But for the most part, you can just delete threats directly from here. All right, so the Policies tab we already saw, so I'm going to skip over that. It looks the exact same way on the customer side. It's just you can set customer policies instead of partner policies. I do want to touch on the Reports tab real quick. All the partner reports, we saw those. Customer reports are available on the customer side, so this would only be for this one particular client. But on the customer side, I could actually add report schedules if I wanted to. So if I wanted to have these go out to the decision maker, the business owner, maybe once a month, letting them see what we've been doing for them. It kind of gives me a little preview of what the report looks like on the right-hand side. This one's pretty, I'll select it. Alert summary. And I can choose which devices are part of this report, the time frame. So maybe we're going to go with a week. And then I can choose how often it goes out. So I'm going to send it out weekly, every Monday morning, and choose who to send it out to, whether it's someone internally or at the client site. You can add as many email addresses as you need to. And not only that, but you can also customize the report. So if it goes out to the client, business owner, whoever might be looking at it, you can have your company logo, just like we've done here. And then the final thing that we'll look at in the CloudCare portal is the Accounts tab under the customer, and very similar to the partner side where you can put customer information in here, select partner manage or self-manage. One thing to keep in mind is you can always change the customer from partner manage to self-manage if you want to, but you cannot change them from self-manage to partner manage. The only way that it can happen is if you ask the customer to do it for you. So the customer would have to go in here and change themselves. It's kind of can be a bit tricky. So just something to keep in mind. Once again, if just so you know, if you make them self-manage, you're not getting in there. Once again, you have access to the support information. You can see which services this customer is utilizing. You could change those if you wanted to. If I wanted to, I've got mine set up on monthly. If I wanted to go to 1, 2, or 3 year, I could do that and then convert it over. And the last thing I want to show you guys in the CloudCare portal, just real quick, is it's something that nobody wants to have to deal with, but unfortunately, it can happen from time to time. Clients not paying for their services. Maybe you have them set up as monthly customers and they haven't paid for their CloudCare in a few months. You've warned them multiple times. You don't want to have to go on site to remove CloudCare, or you don't want to have to go on site to have to deactivate it. That's just an awkward conversation to have, awkward situation to be in. So you can just do it directly from here. You hit deactivate. It just turns off their account. Actually, I'll just go and hit it now. It's not a big deal. It doesn't remove anything. So what's kind of nice about this, you deactivate it, on their endpoints, within just a couple minutes, it'll start popping up. Your device is not protected. Your device is not protected. If they open up Avast, they'll see all the services are turned off, and then chances are they're going to call you, and then you're going to say, well, I've been trying to tell you for a while, you need to pay me. Like I said, you don't want to have to deal with that situation, but if it does happen, it's pretty easy to handle it from here. You hit deactivate, then, once everything's good, customer's back on track, hit activate, turns their account back online, turns their AV services back on, and everybody's happy and everybody's protected. All right, so that was the CloudCare portal. We kind of looked at the partner side, we looked at the customer side, we saw the premium remote control. I do want to thank everyone for joining, taking a look at CloudCare. Have any questions, you want to get started, you've got our contact information on the screen right now. Feel free to contact us and we'll be happy to get you going. Talk to all of you soon. Bye.
Internet and endpoint threats are constantly evolving and can target your business at any time. Network Security Group provides security products and the tools you need to protect your network. Call us today to learn how.